So we have built a simple Flask application where we have just used some simple tags like paragraph tags, header tags, and we have used just a scrolling bar, right? Now we'll just modify our same Flask application where we'll develop a simple front end better than this, where we can have some buttons, some grid system, and to understand that I'll be just making sure I'll not write any script directly. I'll just tell how to use the Bootstrap because it is one of the widely used responsive libraries which are generally used in web development, where how do we communicate, how our Python program communicates with our front end. That is my intention in this video. If it is bit long, just don't make it worry, right? So first we'll be modifying our registration.py, where we just need to modify this, where we need to import some additional libraries over there, because anyways to host it you'll be using ngrok. But now before that we need to go for some giving the libraries, which includes rendering templates, where our Flask should communicate with our web page, right? Because we have already used the variable names. And to render the templates, what do you mean by template over there? Basically when you go for template is basically HTML file. How does our program will communicate with the HTML file? For that, Flask directly provide, because there is a difference between a static file and dynamic file, right? When you go for static file, basically it is similar, because static content is any content that can be delivered to the end user. But if it's dynamic, it keeps on changing, right? That's why static website, dynamic website. If you have a login, it is dynamic. If you don't have any login, you just have information, that's a static website. So our Flask application will provide with these some libraries or some functionalities to render the template, because generating HTML from within Python is not easier, right? So we have some pretty tasks to do that, because already Flask will configure the Jinja to template automatically, but to render the HTML web pages, because we write the method and we return the render template. So for that, we need to use some functions like this, where first we'll be using render template. That is very, very important. So first I'll write render underscore template. These are available within Flask only. Then we'll be using request, or obviously to request this particular web page information. Then we'll be using 3 other libraries, which includes 4 other, like flash, redirecting, URL for, and session. These are very, very important, and I'll tell in very simple way why we are using it. When we are going for with the render template, we'll be obviously going for the URL for, because we generally use URL for is basically to make sure how do we communicate with our web page. That is nothing but good applications and your user interfaces are all about feedback. That is the reason Swiggy, Zomato, they keep on updating it, mainly something like not every time in a month, basically at least twice a month, or I mean 2 times every month, or I'm not 2 months later or 3 months, they're just doing it, right? So that is the reason we'll be using some basic methods within it to communicate with our front-end web pages. For that, we'll be using URL for to communicate with the web pages, and to handle the logs we'll be using logging, and to get the result in a better way we'll be using flash method. So we'll just import all of them to make sure. If we don't import them, you can see a delay in your response. That is the reason I'll be just taking all of them. We are already present in your Flask. We just call them flash, redirect, URL for. If you start keeping practicing, it will be easier. URL for, and the other thing is session, and the other one is logging, because every time when you log into a web page, your logs are stored, right? So render template, flash, redirect, URL for, session, logging. I will be taking all of them. Now what I'll do is I'll just keep some changes over here. First I'll start with my home page, where it should return not this content, but it should return a render template. So what I'll do is first I need to have a folder which is called as templates folder, because Flask will search for the templates folder. That is the reason. If you don't have templates folder, because in templates folder generally we will be creating our static files, which can be our in templates folder will be having our HTML files. To have our CSS or JS files, will be having static folder, because static templates are very, very important when you go for building web applications. So what I'll do is first I'll create a folder. So I'll just close this. In my building API, I need to create a new folder called as templates. First I'll create a folder. There you go. Because this folder should have HTML files. I need to have 3 HTML files, right? Because first is the home page, then the registration page, then login page, right? So create 3 pages over there. You can directly go to your command prompt. Just go to the templates folder. In templates folder, I use same notepad. What is my first file name? That is index.html. It's up to you, whatever the names you give. Those names are not necessary because generally index.html is the first page. It will ask you whatever we are throwing. So we have index.html. Then I create the other thing is register. This is for the register page, that is register.html. It will again ask, you want to create? Yes, I will throw it. Then again I use notepad. This is for the login because now we are communicating with the HTML web pages. For that reason we have used all of them. Just create this, click on yes, there you go. Then if you go to the folder, you have all these are empty files, right? Now what you need to do? You need to communicate with them. You need to write some code over there. Wait, you need not remember any code over there. I'll be using a well-known responsive library which is Bootstrap. But first let's write our Python code. Then I'll go for installing Sublime Text and we'll understand it. So in my home, I'll just keep all of these comments first because I don't want to use them. So I just try to keep here. I just give return render underscore template. So render template function, what it should return? It should go to index.html because in the index.html we'll write some code over there where it will ask for, previously it asked for the sign up username, it asked everything, right? In the place of this, I'll give 2 buttons which is login and register. But for that we need to write some HTML code over there. Well, that I'll be doing it now. Then for the routing, we'll just make some changes. So what I'll do is I'll keep this thing starting from this. I'll keep everything as comment. Let's make sure we use hashtags over there because we have triple quotes over here. So I'll keep all of these routing as hashtag because I create new routings for this new method so that it will be easier. Yes, it's fine. Now we'll create a new routings with these names. So I just start with register form @app.route. You can customize it, it's up to you. So my routing is register. That's it. Where I'll use my methods. What are the methods? First, I need to get the information and create a new resource. That's where we use get and post. That is the reason yesterday we have discussed about these methods. You can combinedly use them. Get yesterday in the sense that's in the previous videos we have discussed. So we have taken this get and post methods. Now what I'll do is I define a function. My function name is register. Once we write the Python code, then we'll go for creating the HTML file because we just gave index.html. You shouldn't run the Python file directly. So in the register method, we'll just pass some conditions. That means if request.method, if my request.method is equal to post, that is nothing but if we are creating new resource. What's that? Username is equal to, how should it fetch? We should pass the same variables. Request.form, we need to fetch the username because we'll be using some form methods and buttons. I'll be taking everything from Bootstrap website only because developers don't remember. They know the logic, how to write the syntax and how to write the code. Then everything is open source. It's all about how do we fetch the details. Then this is for password. For the password also I'll take request.form of password, fetching the, because we have created it as a dictionary. Then we just give users of username. Users of username is equal to password. If you want to make it hash, it's up to you. You can just make it where if it is successful, what I am telling, it should return you have successfully registered. Username, I am not using any formatting method. It is directly I am giving successfully registered, where I am using a format method but not f string method. I am just giving it is successfully registered. There you go. Where you go for dot format of what you throw here, you will throw here username, that is uname, because you gave uname equal to request. That's it. Then we just need to return what we need to return for this function. we just need to return the render template of register form, which we need to yet create. We just pass the name here, render template of, what is the file name we gave? The file name is register.html. Just make sure you give the names correctly. Register.html. Yes, register.html. That's it. Because we'll write the logic in that. This is our register method. Right? That means when I give /register, I should go to that web page. Then another routing is for the login, right? I just give @app.route. I just mention /login. The same thing which we have done in the earlier, we have mentioned the tags over there. But now I want to use the methods in my code, where the other methods are get and post, because we need to see the result, right? So get is for the creating and post is, get is for reading information, post, you know already how do you create a resource. Then we start creating the method. The method is login, where if the username is matching, it should. If request dot method. If you understand the logic, you can combine both the codes. It's up to you. I'm just making it how better ways you can communicate your Flask with your web page. How you can communicate with your Flask with your HTML code. So then if username is matching, if username is equal to, we just give request dot again form of username. If it is matching, then password. You can also print them in the back end, but it's not good. Just you can keep them as comment. But for your understanding, I can make it username of password. You can just print them for your while, where you can see the result in your command prompt. Print uname, and you can give print password. We are not hashing it. Which I already told you how to use the hash method. Then you can also print the users, everything. This is with the condition, right? What happens if the username and the things are not matching? That's where I write exceptions, right? We should be clear, right? If we are having any errors, then automatically it should throw you those results, right? So we just use exception. I'll just write if users of uname is matching with the password, right? If it is matching with the password, then it should return successfully, he is successfully registered. Username has successfully logged in. Any string, it's up to you, you can write. And I'll just give here format of uname. That's it. This is the complete logic which we are giving. If it is not matching, what you'll throw? You can throw it as return wrong password. That means we'll make it to check again. In this way, we'll prompt user to enter. That is for the else condition. And even if we write one more final exception, if it is not matching, we'll just throw except. We'll finally return here also. We'll just return. We'll tell user that it is wrong password. Anything, because if it is failing over there, it will come over here. That's it. This is the logic we have given. And finally, we'll return the render template. This is very, very important. With this logic only, you could see the result on the web page. What is our rendering template here? It is login.html, because render template will send context to our web pages. That is to send context, whatever the context, whether it is index.html or anything. It is index, register, login. Then finally, if you want to see the result, app.route, that is same. Right? Now, our logic is we need to write the HTML tags in our web page, right? HTML code. So for that, if you want to write directly, you can just right click and open with. Generally, you have Notepad. We don't have Sublime Text. If we have Visual Studio, it's up to you. But I'll be making use of the well-known editor, which is Sublime. Just type Sublime in browser. You could see the well-known sophisticated text editor for code and markup languages. It very well communicates with Python. You can use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, any programming language. If you communicate front-end with back-end, just go to the home page. You can just study on this. It is very, very important. You have some shortcuts over here. It provides a command line palette. You can include multiple folders over here. So just click on download for Windows. Then you could see it is downloading. You can wait for a while. You could see once it is installed, it is very simple to log in. Once it is installed, we can just go for some installation process. Once it is downloaded, we can go for it. Let it get downloaded. It depends on internet connection. You could see some documentation here. It is also giving for premium model, but it is fine. We can just go with the free version, even though it may give some pop-up in the beginning. You can see every code with the .py or .c. You can communicate with the HTML files and everything. So that's how we'll be using Sublime Text, where we'll communicate with our front end is communicating with the back end. So that is very, very important. Once it is downloaded, we'll start working on it. It's taking just 9 more seconds. It's only very little file, which is around 10.4 MB, Sublime Text 3, where we'll be using, the next thing is we'll be using our Bootstrap. This is very, very important, and where it's Bootstrap, sorry, I gave spelling mistake here, even though it is written incorrect. Bootstrap, because it is the most popular HTML, CSS and JS library. It's an open framework, and it is just came back around 10 years ago. It is mostly responsive, where you need not dig on to making another format for mobile, because it provides you mobile first front-end development, right? Just open this. We need not install it. We'll just go with get started, and we'll use the same. See, we'll first use this styling thing. I think it is installed, right? So once it is downloaded, I'll go to my downloads and I'll just install it. I'll just install the Sublime Text. You just allow it. It will take some couple of minutes. If it is fine, you can, it is just asking location, just click on next, just click on next. It is a location, it is install. It will just take couple of minutes. It is done, successfully installed. Then go to your project folder. Our project folder is building API and templates. Now you can right click on this and click on with open with Sublime Text. That's it. Where you can see if you have any previous folder, it will ask. See, it is directly opening with the index.html, right? Index.html. Open all the files at a time. Open file. Just click on register and login. Now we'll start writing our code, because generally when you start writing the tags, head, see, when you start writing, it automatically give you the closing tag, right? So first we'll go for index.html, where that is our home page, right? So the first thing always we do when you're writing HTML tags is we'll start with the doc type. That is very, very important. Doc type will tell you what is the doc type which we are giving. So generally doc type it will mention what is the declaration. It provides information to the browser. So that is very, very important. Just start writing with that. So it is exclamatory mark, and we just go for doc type. We are mentioning that is HTML. Make sure you give this everything as caps. So doc type of, see, it is changing into color and HTML. So just close the tag. So here we'll write our head tags and all those tags. But before that, we need to mention the next important tag is HTML, because we just start with HTML because we are writing HTML document only. No, that is the reason we just need to mention the HTML tag. So we'll just go with the simple tags. You need not remember any of the tags, because doc type will tell you what is the document type, and HTML tag will just make sure you start the document, that is HTML. So we just need to mention that. That is the reason we are just using, HTML. We just need to mention that. So if you don't mention, it defines it will create an issue. So for that reason, I'll just go to my Bootstrap web page, where if you see here, we'll be using this CDN style, and if you scroll down, it is giving you the language and the header tag, what is the character set. I'll just copy this, because whatever we need to do, we'll be following the same. So first I'll copy this. You need not remember the code. We just follow the same thing. Just go to your Sublime Text and paste it here. The language is English, and we start our head tag, right? If you start the head tag, just close the tags. So we will mention here character set. See, make sure the spacing is mandatory. This spacing will allow you how you are communicating with the web page. We need to mention the character set, and we'll go for the character set is UTF-8, because we are using the HTML web page. So character set is very, very important. When you are mentioning character set, it is basically identical to ASCII values. So UTF-8 is very, very important. That's where the character set is. It is a variable with character encoding for the communication. So that is very, very important. We'll just give that as meta tag. So we'll just copy it from here. You need not worry about it because we follow this simple syntax. Then we'll need to make it as responsive, right? So the meta name is viewport, where I'll just mention with the device initial scale is 1, because he clearly tells you that we need to make sure we can communicate that thing to a web page. See, Bootstrap is developed with mobile first because it is mainly responsive. Whether you go for zooming or anything, we just need to make this viewport available. So that is very, very important. We just make sure that is available. So no need to write anything. You just need to understand how do you use this Bootstrap. That's it. Initial scaling is 1.0. You can mention it, where I just need to make sure my device, it can be used in any kind of screen. We optimize the code for mobile devices first and then scale up these components. That is the reason meta name is viewport and content is with the device width. That is the reason we just gave that. And then once we are good in writing up this, it is very much easier. We'll just mention the title tag, because our title, whatever title you want to give, you can just mention it. When you just write title, it will suggest you, it will just also ask for the ending tag. So our title is login and registration. So what I'll do is I'll just make sure first I'll give registration form and then we'll just give it is login. You can give anything in this way. This tag is closed. Then we add some styling over it, right? So for that styling, I'll use my Bootstrap CDN. So where we'll just go for here. So we'll just copy paste the style sheet link before all other style sheets to load our CSS. I want to load the CSS, right? I just use this href because generally we use href tags to make sure we add the href tag is basically used in HTML so that we just add the attributes to specify the URL. A tab is for generally giving hyperlink. So href is generally used to specify the URL of that web page. So for that reason, I'll just copy this. We need not write anything over there. We just copy to clipboard and go to your reference here and you paste it here. Automatically that link is being assigned. That's it. We need not do anything. So finally, this is our, before loading our CSS and writing these things, we gave the which device it should be available and what is the title of it, and we start our headings. So we have started our headings, right? We just need to close the heading here. That's it. You just close the heading here. It's clear. Now we write the body of the web page. That means where you need to have some login and sign up buttons, right? So for that reason, we'll start using our division tags, where generally division tags play a very vital role, because if you need to understand about the div tags, it is very, very essential, because div tags play a very vital role in the web page. It defines a particular section of that document where you add some elements to it, where you define the container for the elements, where you go for stylings and adding the web page support. You define everything in the div tag. So for that reason, we just start writing the containers over it. So we'll just go with the same Bootstrap only, where we need not remember any of the code. As I mentioned, you just need to follow with the tags over there. So we just mention the body of it, the body tag, where I'll start my div tag. So my div tag will start with the container class. So I'll just make sure I write it here. So class is equal to container, because how I am able to remember this, you can just go to the grid system, because when you define a web page, you go with the grids of it. So just type grid in this, automatically it will tell you powerful mobile first, because we just divide into a 12 column system, that is 6 default responsive tiers. That means if you see any web page, if I just maximize this, if you just scroll it here, you can see the content is not anywhere defined, anywhere rearranged it. You can see the content B is responsive, because this web page is responsive. Now we'll use this grid system, where if you want to have 3 columns, you could mention this class as container, 3 equal width columns. If you want to break it, you can just use it. Whether you need to go for how many number of pixels you want to have. In that way, you can just mention. If you want to have you want to have only 2 grids, you can just 1 of 2 here. 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. If you want to have 3, we can just mention it to defining the column names over there. That is setting the column names. So where we'll just mention this column sm where to make it responsive over there. So I'll just follow the same single set. If you want to have these sets over there, we just define the same thing in our web page where I define the class as container, and another thing I'll define my tag here. So I define the class. So here my class will be the row style, because you can see here the row style which we have defined above. The same thing we'll define here. I'll define my row and the style which includes the margin. So style is equal to where I just define, see these properties will automatically come, you need not define over there, where I define with 40 pixel. It's up to you how much you define. So we have defined the class and we define one more div tag every section. So here I define my class. So my class within the tags only, just mention the class here where I want to define it into 2 grids only. Something like if we have 3 grids over there, you define column in this way. Or if I want to have single set, I'll just mention in this, because I want to follow this single set. So I'll define column sm of 6 where define 2 tags over there. So I just define 6 6 in 6 6 way where I have only 2 buttons, right? That is the reason I define column sm. I'll just define single set. Sm stands for the single set over there. So I'll just enter into this and I'll define one more tag. So my tag would be where I define class again. I'll make it column smc, because we have already defined it and we pass the attributes. A tag is for getting the reference, I mean hyperlink. Href is for the reference to the web page. So I'll just define my a tag here. So just make sure you scroll down. So this class is particularly closed and type a tag. So href is equal to where, what is the reference? It is for the login. So we just mention it as login, and your class we need to have some buttons over there, right? Yes. So for the buttons, we'll just go to the Bootstrap web page and whatever type of button you want to have. If you want to have such kind of buttons, see left, middle, right, you can just give primary, left, middle, right. So you need to go for form controls over there. So here we just need to have what kind of button. If you want to have danger symbol, you can use this. You can use this class and you can use this. So button outline primary, we can use all of this, right? If it is primary, you can see how does this is happening. So if you want to have success, you can use this, where I want to just use along with this button, I want to have form control, because when I click that particular, I should go to a next web page, right? So I'll just type form controls over here. I'll open in a new web page where if you go for form control, how you are just styling your input over there. That means which type of box you want, right? So for that, if I want to have email and username and password 2 buttons, it is fine. I could just use that. So I'll write form control here, where form label, you have everything. So you can just confirm it. So in that way, we'll just write our form control. So login is equal to, so the class here is btn button form. What kind of form you want? If you want to this button control form, if you want to have it in the format of success or anything, it's up to you. So I'll just take this. I'm not writing anything my own, I'm just knowing it from the Bootstrap only. In the same way, we'll communicate with this. So button form control, we'll just give this for the button success, right? So it is clear. That is for the, you are just making it for the login. Just communicate it with the login only. It will be easier. So button form control, button success, we need to close the tag over there along with the login. So then only it will communicate. So we are just closing it with the login. It should, yeah. So login with the reference tag and close the div tag. We already have the closing div tag here, right? Just take this to the ending, then it would be easier. Yeah. Now you could see the reference is login, button form control, button success. That means when we hit that, we should be able to see the success thing. So definition my template, and Next, we'll go for another tag where I need to give one more column for the register, right? This is for the login, this is for the register. I'll just copy the same thing and I'll change one more tag. I'll just copy the same thing, and in place of login, I'll just give register. It will throw you the name, just need not worry about the names. Same button form control, if you want primary or secondary, whatever we have seen in the web page, you can pass the same thing, because in the web page is clearly mentioning what kind of button you want. If you want to have warning, just use this. So the name of it and the tags to be closed. So I want to have primary, this is the outline, so I can use that. You can use your own thing, it's up to you. I'll use this primary. So login, in place of login, what is this? We just need to have register. That's what I give. So the link tabs are closed and this div tag is closed. These three closing div tags, right? So I think, yeah, it's fine. So this div tag is closed, this div tag is closed, this is closed, this is closed, this is closed. See the lines over there, if it is correct, then it is fine. So save it and go to the web page, and if you open this web page, you could see these two buttons. That's it. See, there is no functionality now. We have got two buttons, register button, because we did not write the backend code over there, right? Now we'll render it, because when I click login, what should happen? When I click register, what should happen? That is success, how you got two buttons over there, because we have arranged it in the format of grid over there. You can use this grid. Don't worry about the code, just write the tags over there. How do you add the reference links? How do you add the div tags for each section? Now for registration, we'll write our code. Same for registration, you copy the same thing what you have defined. First the doc type and everything. You can just copy till here. You can just copy till here. The same thing for every web page. Even for login also copy the same thing. But here we'll add the title. Our title is, this is the registration page, right? So you add the title tag. The title tag, this is registration, or you just go for register. The title you see on the web page, that is register Flask. Then same CDN for your Bootstrap, the same link, just copy it, because we are using the same thing. We need not customize anything. Bootstrap provides you everything over there, and we just need to close the header tag, right? So first close the header tag, then particular this heading is closed over there. So when you just close, when you write head, it automatically close it. You could see the lines over there, that means the particular code is correct. If you have any spacing errors, it will avoid you. That's it. Then you write your body, just mention the body tag over here, where again I'll write the containers, but here we need to include some methods over there. That methods include, how do you write it? So first let me go for the buttons. Instead of buttons, here we have this for in form controls, you see the div and containers. So if I go to the same home page of Bootstrap, I'll just show you. In the Bootstrap, you could see when you click on get started, you could see the containers here, right? So the containers, when I just scroll down, this is for the sizing. And when I go for the form controls, I think in the form controls we have seen how do you write the content, for the buttons, and how do you, when you go for the grouping of the buttons, how do you write the content over there, and in the form controls, how do you write it? And in this is the customizing layout overview of it. So when you go for the overview of it, he'll tell you how do you retain the containers. We have everything over there, right? We just follow the same thing which we have discussed in the previous. So I'll just define the tags over there. First I'll write my class is container, because I want to give for the because we have seen that thing in the grid system. So in the grid system, how we are using it, because if you want to have this 3 tile, because he clearly tells that, remember, read these lines, 12 column system, 6 default, 6, that is 12. So we are defining this class container. Just follow the same thing here. The class is container. That's it. So div class is equal to, because we are closing it here, you should not close it here. So now the class is container. Now before closing the tag, just go for another div tag where the margin, so row style, I'll copy this thing, the same thing I'm using. So I'll just copy the same thing over here. So it will be easier instead of wasting the time. So div class row style margin same 40 pixel. Here I'll give my action where I'll just give my form. So my form, because I'll just give the form. So my method is post. That's where we check with the web page where we are posting it. That means we are creating a new resource. And again, without closing the form, we just define our division tag again, where we mention the class again. It is container. Where, so here class again, no need of container because already you have defined here. You need to go for the grouping of the form. That means you need to take the username and password because you are in registration page, right? So you define here something like form group. So I just define it as form group so that it will be easier, where I'll take it from the user. So here I'll take the label and the inputs, because you know the label tags and the input tags. Because what do you mean by a label generally? If so, ID card is your label, right? In the same way, you have these tags for giving the input and for generally taking the labels. So because label tag plays a very vital role in HTML. Basically, when you go for giving the text label, or we define with the input tag, it is for the normal text, and we define with the label tag, we define the text. So we go for the input, we just define input function. So I define here label so that I take it up. So label, so just don't close the tags. For you can just pass any name here for username or anything. I'm just giving email. You can give anything over there. That means we need to check with the username. So first I'll ask the username, and where we'll enter the username. So the label tag is closed. That is perfect. Then for the next thing, you need to enter the input, right, for the text. So input type. What is the type we should define over there? The type is only text format. That's it. And how do you fetch the name? We need to fetch the name as uname, because we have defined the same thing in our code. Just follow this uname, request.form. Now we'll be using this. So request.form name is equal to uname, and our class is basically form control, not form group, which is basically form control, so that we just see the web page data. And the reference ID is username, because we need to tally with the username only. That's it. Then we close the division tag. This is for the username, and we create one more class for the password, right? The same thing you do it, where once we give this division class, it's done. Then form method is post, and div class we'll copy the same thing till this. I'll just copy it, and once the tag is closed, I'll paste form group and label for is here. Just give any label name here. Now instead of username, we need to mention here password. We need to mention here password, and this particular label is closed. Input type is equal to text, and here name is equal to not uname, it is basically password, because we'll fetch the same thing from our web page here, PASSW. That is very, very important. And same form control, and here instead of uname, that is password. That's it. Now when we fill this, we should have a submit button, right? Yes. Now close this div tag. It's done. Now we need to define a button over there. So for buttons, you know, right, how to define a button. The button name is, how do you define the submit button? So type is equal to, you just need to have, if you want to have submit, you can just give it, and the class you define within it, whatever we have seen earlier, the class is equal to, how do you have button form control? The same thing, button form control, what we have defined, the same thing you can give, button form control. I'll just copy the same thing here, and in which way you want button, you can just use it, whether you follow my thing or outline, whatever you give, whether you take primary or anything, it's up to you. I'll just take one simple thing, where for the button form control, I want to have this outline information, so that when I click it, I could see it. So form information, and what I want to see, for this I want to see the registration, that is the button name is register, and I close the button tag, and form is closed. Make sure we have closed all the div tags. How many div tags are open? 1, 2, 3. These lines are clear, and these 3 div tags should be closed. So once we have closed the h tags along with the HTML tag, that should also be closed. So in this div tag, so for this, these two, and I think for this div tag we have closed it. Okay, this is clear. Just you can make it enter down so that you could refer each div tag. So this div tag, this div tag, this div tag, body is closed. Then close our HTML tag. So which we have defined the body. So close HTML. See, automatically you get all of these things. You need not need all of these type. There you go. So finally everything is correct over here. Now if you see this web page, go to your folder and see this. When you go for register, you are not seeing anything over here. That means which you need to go for running the code when you enter the username and password, right? So we have clearly closed each and every detail over there along with the tags. Just make sure if you have any error, you could see while closing the tags. So this div tag is closed with this is with this is with this div tag, body and HTML. That's good. Then finally we'll go for login. For the login, I have used the same thing. This div tag should be closed. I think it is expecting one more div tag. Yeah. Fine. Yes, this div tag, it need one more div tag. I think I have defined that thing here. So it's not needed here. I'm sorry for that. It's needed here where this div tag is closed. It's good now. Now it's clear. Every div tag is closed. Form, div, and finally we'll close HTML. That's it. I think it's clear now. Just go to your web page and refresh. See, now it is 1 KB. That means when you open, you see username, password, this register. For this outline I gave in that way. Don't get the logic now because you are in your templates. Then finally we'll go for the login. Very good. Because if you don't close the tags, you cannot see the memory over there. So just go to the login and follow the same techniques, same stylings. Title will change it. We'll change the title to login page. We'll just scroll down. We'll just change the title to, that is not register. We'll go for login. That's it. Then title you can have it in the above or below. It's fine. Let's try to add it below. What happens if we add it below? It's fine. You can add it below also. So title tag, and we have given the styling, and same, just close the header tag. Fine. Now we add the sections where we go for body, and we'll copy the same thing where we'll just say change some names over here. What I'll do is I'll just copy the entire body tag and I'll just make sure we'll just try to close it at the end. Now I'll save this and I'll copy here, right? So body, so div class is equal to container and same row, style, margin, and I'll mention column. Here same form method, and for here same username, label, input type text, username, class, form control, ID name, div tag is closed, form, email, password. So password, because when you enter this you should be able to see, and again no need of register here. What you need to see over there, you need to see login. That's it. Mention login in that, then it's done. Button is closed, form is closed, 3 div tags, and just close the body tag also. It's done. Then it is finally done for your code, because we are just mentioning the same thing. Just go to your, yes, you see now it's login also you have in this way, username, password, login. That's it. We have gave our front end code. So now you are good to go for running your Python script, because we have given our front end with HTML, that is we have included mainly Bootstrap libraries. That HTML file is including stylings with the help of Bootstrap, which has CSS styling over there. You need not worry because we made it very simple. So we just run our Python file. Python, what is our file name? Registration form.py. So when the Flask generates this URL, what is it first having? Because we gave in the home, we gave index.html, right? So we just go to the web page and we paste it here, hit enter. There you got login, register, and the name of this web page is registration form. Because whatever web page you open, see, they have some names over this. The same way we gave title, that means that is the title of the web page, which we have clearly mentioned in our index.html, right? Then go for it. Just click on register. just give the names. Suppose I'll give code and I'll give the name 1457, right? Code 1457. So before registering, click the /register form, whatever we have. Just go to the register.html. We gave it. Just go for the Python file. In /register, okay, methods are get and post, whatever we are posting, request.username, password, successfully done. But how does it validating? When you go for post method, okay, request.form, you should print this here. That's the mistake. It's a syntactic mistake. You see, registers if users of uname, that is not string format because that's a key. So save this and go to your web page. So hit on register. There you go. Code is successfully registered. And now click on login here. So you should see when you go for login, you enter your username. The username is code. What is the password I gave? 1457. Hit enter. There you go. Code has successfully logged in because we have gave the same thing in our code. What happens if we give wrong username? That means I'll enter into home page. I'll go to login. I'll just give code and I'll give 1478. It is wrong password, check again. So that is how we could see the details. See the users, it is wrong thing to store over here, but it's fine for your understanding. I gave it over there. And even you can check the users data here. You should give /users/data. It may take some time to load, it's fine. You can just give Ctrl+C over there. You could see code Saket Reddy one because these two are built in, which in our Python file you could see over here, which we have already given the objects, and here this is the particular person. So that is how we have clearly developed a simple front end by using Bootstrap libraries for index, index.html, register, login. So that is how we could make it very simple with the help of Bootstrap. You could only hear here the div tags and the forms. I just made it from the Bootstrap website only. We did not write down our remembering the code. We just go to Bootstrap website, how to add buttons, how to add grids, how to add options. Just make it because Bootstrap is a well-known responsive library in 21st century because we mainly develop applications with Bootstrap and most of the developers, 70% they use it because it depends only on the way you write the code, right? This is how we have communicated our Python code with our front end. I hope you have enjoyed watching it. If you have liked our content, please do hit like button and do subscribe to our YouTube channel for more useful content and exciting updates. If you want to learn such practical content at an affordable cost with Microsoft certification and instructor support, please register at academy.codegnan.com. You can also download app from Play Store as CodeGnan. Never hesitate to raise queries in the comment section and please do reply with your suggestions for more practical videos. We'll be happy to come up with it. Thank you.